Hi, thanks for watching. Today I'm going to be reviewing Wildwood Whispers by Willa Reece. And I meant to do this a couple days ago, but in the morning on Wednesday, my boss told me that I was going to be the team DJ for the team meeting that we were having that day. And this is my first time being the DJ because I was recently put on this person's team. And you would not believe how stressful it could be to try to pick a song to share with people. I was so sure I was going to go with Nightwish, but first of all, it was really difficult to pick a Nightwish song because I love them all. But then I was like, okay, well, if I go with Nightwish, I'm going to have to give them a backstory because whether it's Tarja or Annette or Floor, I'm going to have to tell them, okay, well, these are also the other singers who have been in different iterations of Nightwish. And then I'd also feel like I needed to share the fact that Marco and Tomas and Floor also have solo ventures which are worth listening to. And I was like, okay, I don't really know like half of the team, so I'm just gonna go with Call of the Mountains by Elvedi. But then the beginning of Call of the Mountains is kind of an instrumental, and my boss mentioned that she likes instrumentals, but that was before they started singing. And then I went into this whole tangent about other people who do instrumentals, like Damien Escobar and Vanessa Mae and E.S. Posthumous and Bruneville and Adrian Von Ziegler, so that turned into a whole thing anyway. I could have just gone with Nightwish. But I did recommend Nightwish's Last of the Wilds. And now I've gone on a tangent with you also. Anyways, so Wildwood Whispers. I went back to this book. It's been on my TBR for a while. I've had it for a while. It's been on my Kindle for a while. But some of the books I've been reading recently have touched on Appalachian magic. And so it kind of drew me back into... It reminded me about this book, and so I finally went in and read it. So... this follows Mel. Mel is in the foster system, and she tries to keep to herself because she finds that she gets in less trouble, she draws less attention, there's less drama when she just keeps to herself. Well, when another foster girl comes into her world, Sarah, she finds herself inexplicably drawn to this girl and feels the need to protect her. And so over the next decade or so, Mel and Sarah become best friends to the point of being sisters. They grow up, they age out of the foster system, they get jobs. Sarah has started going to school, and Mel has kind of held back because she wants Sarah to finish school before she tries to start going to school because she thinks it will be too much. Well, one day Sarah dies in a car accident. And Mel has promised her that she's going to take her ashes back home. So Mel goes to Morgan's Gap, which is at the foot of the Appalachian Mountains, and her plan is to bury them underneath the was it underneath the tree that her mom was murdered? Her mom was murdered. Sarah's mom was murdered, and that's why she was in the foster system, because she was put there to get away from the town because they hadn't caught the person who killed her mom. And so Mel goes back to this town, or Mel goes to this town with Sarah's ashes, and she goes to a diner, and she's immediately drawn to this guy who is standing at the counter, or who comes in. His name is Jacob. He's a ranger. But then she's kind of whisked away by an elderly wise woman named Granny. She's known to the whole town as Granny. And Granny takes her in. She takes her back to where she lives, and she's talking about Sarah and Sarah's mom, Melody. And then she brings out the Ross Remedy book, which belonged to Melody and her ancestors, the wise women of the Ross family. And she starts trying to teach Mel the ways of the wise women. Mel is having a kind of hard time with this because she's never really opened herself up to people before. She's never allowed herself to be taken into under somebody's wing before, like she took Sarah under her wing. But she feels drawn to the people of this town. She feels drawn to Granny, drawn to Jacob, particularly Jacob and Sarah's best friend Lou. Because before Sarah's mom died, she was best friend with this girl named Lou, and now Lou is an adult, and Mel finds herself drawn to her too. It's different than with Jacob because she is attracted to Jacob, but she feels like there's a connection between the three of them. And as she's learning the ways of the wise women from Granny, she finds that Granny was part of a trio, and historically there's always been trios, and so Granny was part of a trio. And then currently there's a trio of Sadie, Kara, and Jocelyn. I think I got that name wrong. But when they work together, they are more powerful. And so as she's learning the ways of the wise women and getting to meet people in town, Granny's having her go deliver things like poultices and teas and remedies. She goes and helps Sadie with her bees, but there is an incident with the bees and this preacher named Moon. Now Moon is this like cultish villainous leader of a sect of women who are all creepily pregnant. And some of them are really, really young, to the point where Mel's like, okay, why isn't anybody doing anything about this? And Granny's like, okay, well, Moon has Morgan Hartwell, who is the mayor, in his pocket. And so there's really nothing that we can do, because then, of course, Morgan Hartwell has the police in his pocket. And so she's concerned, especially when Moon notices her when he goes to visit Sadie, because Mel didn't realize that some of the abilities that Sarah had are inherent in her also. And so she kind of prompts the bees to swarm Moon, and that was an interesting scene. But then there's Morgan Hartwell, who is the mayor, and Morgan Hartwell's wife Violet shows up in different places where Mel is, and Mel kind of gets this sense that Violet is this trophy wife for Morgan Hartwell. She dresses like she's in the 50s with the cinched waist and the flared skirt, and she's always very well put together, very quiet, especially when Hartwell is around. She doesn't talk. She doesn't really do anything except for stand there looking to mirror. Well, Violet has a personality behind that facade, which Mel can kind of sense but can't quite draw it out of her. And as she's getting to know the townspeople, Mel is also, of course, getting to know their secrets, and in turn is getting the attention of some less than savory people. And Jacob keeps trying to warn her away. If we go back to the ranger, Jacob keeps trying to warn her away. He said, you should be careful what you take that Granny gives you. You should probably go back to where you're from, because once the Wildwood gets you, you might not be able to leave. And Mel is like, okay, whatever. When Mel leaves Granny's house and moves into the Ross cabin, there's a mouse there. And here, okay, so we're going to get into the animal companion of the book. And this is so adorable. The mouse's name is Charm. And I might have an affinity for this mouse because of my son's hamster. And I love this hamster. If you had told me 2 years ago that I was going to absolutely love a rodent, I would have been like, no. But then JJ got Hammy, and I love Hammy. I love holding him in my hand and feeding him pretzels and pizza crust and whatever other stuff that we have. I love getting him treats. John says that I spoil the hamster more than I spoil the dogs. I was like, that may be true. But Charm has his own role to play in this, and I absolutely adore Charm. I wish Charm had more in the book, more emphasis in the book. But it was enough for me to fall in love with the mouse. So it was really cute and interesting, and I loved it. There were some parts of the book, especially at the beginning. At the beginning, I had issues with how easily Mel went with Granny, and how quickly and how silly Mel seemed when she was first getting attracted to Jacob. But the book was really good, and it was a powerful statement on not only like the things that we allow to happen and allow to be swept under the carpet because we don't want to make waves, but also what it means to be so walled off from fellowship and community and friends and family that you miss out on the good things that happen when you open yourself up. And yes, you might get hurt, but also you have people to fall back on. It was a really good book. It was a little bit longer than a magical realism normally, as it clocked in at, I think, 390 pages. But it was well worth the read. There wasn't any point where I was bored with the book and I couldn't put it down. I tore right through it, and I absolutely adored it, especially Charm. So definitely worth the read, especially if you like magical realism. We're talking Sarah Addison Allen, Alice Hoffman, and then also if you're into the Appalachian magic books, definitely pick this one up. So thanks so much for watching. Like and subscribe below.